Many thanks to DayZ Podcast, Pandemonium, Lanos, Felix Struction Vanilla servers, Atlas, Mutated Jurassic Outbreak server, one original DayZ servers, Dust Vanilla servers, and Sheriff Lion for making this video possible. DayZ 1.21 has significantly changed how leg fractures work in many different ways, so in this video we're going to check out the new and improved fracture stat, the huge reductions we've seen to full damage taken, how to stop the new bleeds we get from falling, the codeine and morphine buff, and where you might not want to keep your high explosives this patch. The fracture stat was previously a hidden stat for DayZ, but now with these 4 different stages and these 4 icons to go with them, it's now very similar to the stats we have down in the corner here, yet it's extremely unique too. Which of the new icons you get displayed down here will depend on the current bone health of your left leg, left foot, or right foot. The maximum bone health for all of these is 125, with reaching 0 in any of these resulting in all 4 dropping to 0 and a leg fracture occurring. When it comes to the 3 new icons that were added this patch, the lowest bone health of these 4 is used to display the corresponding icon down here that we see in the game, with the first stage starting at 118.75 displaying this icon. The second stage and icon is around 40 bone health lower at 81.25, with the third and final icon below 43.75, representing the 4 different stages of the fracture stat now. While it is great to know your current fracture status down here, the way that this informs us does have a flaw. For example, if your right foot has 20 bone health and you have this icon displayed down here, the other 3 body parts can still take 125 bone damage each before you get that leg fracture, as the bone health for all 4 body parts takes bone damage independently of each other. This technically means that the only time this icon is 100% trustworthy is when it comes to full damage. Ever since leg fractures were first reintroduced to DayZ, full damage removes bone health from these 4 body parts at the same time, at the same rate, regardless of your shoes, the weight of your character, what your character is carrying, or how much morphine you have running through your veins. However, in 1.21, a lot has changed when it comes to full damage, such as bleeds occurring on your feet and your hands when you fall from 3 meters or higher, a huge reduction in how much damage we take from full damage, and items inside our clothing now become ruined from full damage. To give you an idea of these changes, this drop from 7 meters at eye level would break your leg guaranteed in the previous patch 1.20, but in 1.21 you need to fall from this height 4 times in quick succession to break your leg. This is because the minimum height required to start taking health and bone damage has been increased to 6 meters instead of around 2 meters, so below 6 meters I can jump off of objects all day and not break my leg or die in this patch, which is a lot more realistic than it was last patch. With these changes come some downsides though, as jumping from just 3 meters or higher will result in bleeding on your hands and your feet if you don't have a piece of clothing covering these body parts. So basically, if you have gloves and shoes on, you cannot get bleeds from full damage at all at any height, but gloves and shoes will now lose durability from falling. Anytime you jump from 3 meters or higher, your gloves, shoes and pants will take damage in this patch, with the height that you fall from damaging these 3 pieces of clothing faster. So pants become ruined very quickly from pristine, but shoes take damage at around 5 times slower than the pants, and gloves take damage at around 10 times slower than the pants, so they do become damaged at different rates, with the knife that you have inside military boots taking damage too, so items within items take damage from full damage in this patch. Now with how pants take more damage than gloves and shoes, the items inside pants also take more damage than gloves and shoes, which yes, will trigger explosives to detonate inside your pants if they become ruined from the full damage they take, essentially unlocking the kamikaze dive bomber playstyle. Pants, and therefore items inside your pants, will now take damage at 3 meters or higher, which is this height here, so it's not high at all to start exploding yourself. To know if you're damaging your items or not, or even your bone stat, we do have different fall animations that come in 3 varieties now, instead of just the 1 that we had in last patch. The first variety of animation is between 0.5 meters and 3 meters, the second is between 3 and 5 meters, with the third type being anywhere above 5 meters, locking your character in place before you can start moving again. So if you get this animation where your head moves backwards slightly, you've taken no damage at all to any of your stats or any of your items. If you bend over slightly though, you do have a chance to cause bleeding on your hands and your feet if they're unprotected, and your gloves, shoes, pants and items inside your shoes and your pants will start taking damage damage at this height. The final animation is very obvious and will lock you in place like it did in the last patch, additionally inflicting health, shock and bone damage compared to the other two animations. Health, shock and bone damage in this patch start later, but they ramp up faster. So it's very similar to last patch, it just starts later. So jumping from 9 meters will KO you and break your leg from full bone health, with 14 meters, like last patch, killing you from full health. In summary, averaging the 3 types of stat damage we take from falling, health damage is around 30% less than last patch, shock damage is around 20% less, and bone damage is a huge 50% lower in this patch, meaning we will see far less leg fractures occurring from fall damage, but we now have bleeds, damage to clothing, and we have to be cautious of the items that we're carrying in our pants as a trade-off. Damage to the bone stat remains roughly the same as last patch, and for the most part the video I did recently is still up to date, so you can check that out if you want to. Bones regen at the same rate, you can only use a splint when you have this icon. The splint behaves the same as it did last patch, restoring a portion of your stat instantly, also healing you in 15 minutes, so it's near enough the same as it was last patch. The biggest change that I've noticed is this icon appearing when you're fighting infected, but our bone stat became damaged last patch from infected too. We just didn't notice that it was taking damage because we didn't have this icon last patch. So basically when it comes to infected giving you this icon, there's no changes. Due to our bones regenerating at 0.334 per second, having an infected break your leg is just not going to happen in DayZ, because you're going to get KO'd or even killed long before these 4 would drop to 0. However, if you have a broken leg or if you have a splint attached, bone regeneration is 5.5 times slower like it was last patch, so infected can break your leg again if you have a splint on, due to these 4 not out-regenning the incoming damage from infected. In the previous patch, if 3 of these 4 went above 100 bone health, your fracture would instantly heal, but now it's all 4, so all 4 of these stats need to be above 100 to heal your leg fracture, and because your bone health will be below 118.75, you will see this icon a short time after your leg fracture heals. Another change is how running or even moving in any shape or form when you have this fracture icon, splinted or not, will produce these pain sounds like this. These pain sounds can be heard by nearby players up to around 15 meters until the fracture heals. Painkillers, codeine, morphine, they're not going to stop these pain noises, but this could change. They removed the ability to sprint with a broken leg now. You could sprint before, but it was the same speed and you would lose stamina. Now you cannot sprint at all, but you can run further without going unconscious this patch. Running without a splint will now allow you to travel 15 meters before you go unconscious, up from 10 meters, so 50% further, whereas with codeine you can travel almost twice as far without going unconscious at 33 meters. In the last patch it was 17 meters. Morphine got a slight buff too, but only 17% further before you get KO'd. How heavy you are doesn't change how much shock damage you take when walking without a splint, and swimming with a broken leg without a splint will no longer make you sink to the bottom of the ocean, but it will make you drown at the same speed as last patch. Finally, for this video I wanted to test the new leg armor we got this patch versus breaking your leg, as they provide a lot of protection from damage in DayZ. So against a bear trap your leg will still break, and against a landmine again it will still break. It won't protect you much, and I found no differences in how much health, shock or bone damage we take from full damage either while wearing the leggings. The only differences is melee and bullet damage reduction to chainmail leggings, allowing you to take more punishment before your leg breaks from these types of attacks, but looks like all the other types of damage will still break your leg at the same rate. However, the foot takes the same bone damage, so if someone is wearing these leggings and you want to break their leg, just shoot them in the foot and it will do the same bone damage as shooting them in the leg, as the foot reacts exactly the same way that the leg does in terms of bone damage and leg fractures. If you have any more questions about the bone stat, this video is probably going to answer it here, or you can ask me directly in the comments below, with this video showcasing all the additions and changes we got in 1.21 if you didn't see this already. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.